Good afternoon, evening, or morning to all who are joining us. Thank you for taking the time today for joining our platform demonstration of ThreatX's dashboards, API Catalog 2.0, and Botnet Console. We have an exciting event planned for you today, but first, I'd like to take a moment to introduce ThreatX's Senior Product Manager, Tyler Hill, who's going to be helping me walk through today's capabilities. Tyler, feel free to hop in and say hi.
Hey, good morning, afternoon, all. Excited to be here today, taking everyone through a quick demo today of the new dashboards and functionality that we have available on the platform. We're going to talk about some of the trends that we've seen lately in the market and introduce some of the new functionality that we have with our new dashboard experiences. So super excited to be here today, Sid. We think everyone's going to really love what they see. Feel free to post any questions into the chat along the way, and we'll take it from there.
Perfect. Lastly, my name is Tanika Faro. I'm a senior product marketer here at ThreatX and your host for today's event. So with that, let's dive on in. ThreatX is thrilled to have launched API Catalog 2.0 and Botnet Console, enabling security teams to stay ahead of rapidly evolving automated threats targeting your APIs and applications. These new dashboards, recently unveiled at this year's RSA conference, will help teams rapidly investigate automated threats and attempts to abuse APIs with enhanced metrics, analytics, and visualizations. But of course, before I give too much away, Tyler, could you talk us through and explain some of the background research and findings that fueled really these product initiatives?
Absolutely, Sid. So, ThreatX serves a customer base across many different industries, including financial sectors, e-commerce, online retailers, and many more. And as an overarching trend in terms of observations that we're seeing across the marketplace today, we see that the complexity and automation of attacks are ever increasing. The orchestration and automation that we're seeing is really one of the biggest challenges that our customers face from a security perspective. And the way we like to frame this problem is that if you look on the right, there's this iceberg type of analogy in terms of what you see being visible and most importantly, what you don't see. And as the sophistication of attacks continues to evolve and become more automated and more complex, these new attack vectors are really at the forefront of where our focus has been over the last few months, staying ahead of ever evolving threats and attack vectors coming in. As such, we've been investing in these new solutions that we recently unveiled at RSA to help combat, stay ahead of these problems, and ultimately help our customers stay safe from those online evolving threats. So a lot of the dashboards that we'll walk through this morning between the API catalog and the bot console really help security teams detect and remediate against some of these new threats. And things like distributed denial of service, credential stuffing attacks, authorization exploits are all problems that these solutions are designed to solve and help detect and keep our customers safe against.
Absolutely. And Tyler, I think you did a great job walking through kind of the change of the threat landscape, how our attacks really, again, going beneath the surface and being able to exploit really the application layer in a new way than it ever has before. But could you talk a little bit more about the solutions that are on the market today? Is there a difference of how ThreatX approached creating Botnet Console that differentiates from some of the other solutions on the market today?
Yeah, great question, Sid. So, one of the differentiating factors about ThreatX is, one of our risk-based approaches to of assessing and evaluating real-time threats. And as we look at some of the other competitors in the marketplace today, specifically for bot types of use cases, a lot of competitors have point-in-time types of solutions that, once deployed, don't evolve very well with ongoing and emerging threats that we see. And one of the key differentiators that we've built into our product allows us to rapidly evolve to not only keep up with threats, but stay ahead of them. And that's one of the things we're most excited about in terms of the flexibility and the rapid agility that we have with this new solution to help detect and defend and remediate against bot types of use cases.
Perfect. And that gives great context as far as the threats that are targeting APIs and applications. But could you talk a little bit more about also some of the problems that we're seeing on the API security side of the house?
Absolutely. Well, the bot problem really goes hand in hand with the challenge of securing APIs. Um, is over the last few years, we've really seen APIs become one of the top types of targets across a lot of our customers, mainly because of the fact that APIs present such a valuable target to attackers in terms of being able to steal sensitive data, to exploit those APIs, and so many more other use cases that really present some major business challenges. And so, with that in mind, one of the reasons we've invested into building out this next generation API catalog is that it helps organizations not only take inventory across all of their APIs, but have full visibility and observability into their public service to be able to see types of trends, different types of attack vectors going after specific APIs, and being able to take action and defend and stop those types of attacks. So super excited to walk through today in the demo and dive into what that looks like in terms of that observability. We've baked some really nice capabilities within that dashboard as well to be able to show things like trends in terms of traffic metrics, be able to break down classifications of the attack vectors, and so much more that provides that organization with the ability to see different traffic trends across all their different sites and drill down to finite detail levels to understand what's actually happening across their API and tech stack.
Great. And what I'll emphasize with the audience is, please, if you have any questions that pop up as we go along this presentation, please feel free to post them in the chat. We are very aware and we're always watching the chat, and we'll make sure to address those questions during our live Q&A portion of the event today. So please don't be shy along the way.
All right, so this is a quick preview of our API Catalog 2.0. This is the next generation of what we have available today in our API Defender offering. And in a moment, we'll dive into a live demo to show what this looks like. But before we do that, a quick summary of kind of the main benefits and some of the key points about API Catalog is that, first and foremost, it allows organizations to get quick high-level overview metrics around their overall API usage and attack metrics. It allows you to drill down into specific sites that ThreatX is protecting to segment that data and drill down into more detailed metrics around attack behavior, API usage, and other trends. And it also displays specific threats that are going after your sites all the way down to the endpoint level, so you can take action on specific attack vectors coming in across your APIs to be able to maintain a really good security posture. So one of the nice things about this is that it's not just a point in time. It provides real-time visibility when new attack vectors or attackers come in. You'll be able to see those data changes in near real time. You'll also be able to see alerts to suspicious activity and trending attack behavior. So, for example, if there's a specific endpoint that provides types of data, you see it being targeted more than some of the others in your API interface. And that would allow security teams to be able to go in, easily be alerted to that target, and then go and remediate through more rule tuning or other measures to help block that traffic. So super exciting. Worth mentioning as well, with our new offering, we've totally revamped the UI in terms of the overall design language to make the experience much more intuitive, much cleaner, and to bubble up the metrics that are going to be most important to security teams in terms of what they need to know and be able to take action on. So really excited about the new experience that's coming, and you'll see that continue to roll out across other areas of the platform throughout this year as well. Any questions from the chat around the API Catalog 2.0?
One question from the chat that we have coming in is how large of a picture can folks start to see in the API catalog? I guess how far back do we start to track this activity?
Yeah, great question. So what happens when we have a ThreatX sensor deployed is that our profiler will pick up endpoint traffic when it hits the sensor, and we will take inventory in our catalog looking across all those different endpoints. Right now, we will hold that data for at least 90 days. To be able to tell a story of what's happening across all those different endpoints. You'll be able to see fluctuations in traffic, spikes, different vectors coming in over time. And really, from a security analyst point of view, it allows you to tell that big picture story of what's happening over time.
Perfect. No other questions about API catalog, but specific to the botnet console, folks are really curious to understand, are they able to drill into a specific botnet? Is it just one bot view at a time? What does that kind of look like, Tyler?
Yeah, great question. So for our bot console announcement, again, another item we're super excited about in terms of introducing this new functional capability on the platform. Historically, ThreatX has been able to detect and defend against botnets, but with the new announcement at RSA, we're introducing an entirely net new console dedicated for botnets. What this allows us to do is aggregate metrics specific to botnets, allow security analysts to be able to see and interact with those botnets, to be able to detect different attack metrics, different volumes of data, and tell the story again over time to be able to understand what those botnets are attacking against and understand those fluctuations in traffic. So within the bot console, you'll see shortly, we provide aggregation metrics at the specific botnet level. Within a botnet instance, we allow our customers to be able to define custom rules or rules that we have out of the box, and they roll up into what we call the botnet definition that allows us to be able to define specific criteria or criterion that we're looking for, which can be easily updated to allow those definitions to evolve over time. That allows us to stay up and stay ahead of those evolving threats to be able to detect botnet activity and then block if need be. Again, real-time visibility is a big component of this, so you can see attacks happening in real time, understand when botnet traffic is surging or may have dropped off, and then from there, what we can do is take that action to remediate or take a more appropriate security posture if we need to block botnet traffic that may be emerging or even if it's known. So the easy ability to track and tune that detection is what makes this awesome.
Well, that sounds awesome. I think with that, we can dive right into the ThreatX demonstration and maybe showcase some of these new capabilities live in the dashboard. What do you say, Tyler?
Let's do it.
Perfect. Let me swap these out.
Right. All right, so I've got a view of our bot console up. Hopefully everyone can see this okay. And we have a demo lab environment here illustrating what our bot console looks like. And basically, in this instance, we've configured a botnet to look for web scraping bots. A real life use case around this could be maybe you're an e-commerce retailer or you do online merchandising and bots are abusing your website to either scrape data, prices, maybe reserve inventory, which is a big problem right now for online retailers. And in this use case, we're detecting web scraping bots that are coming in to be able to identify where traffic is coming from and be able to block that traffic. Now, before we get into that, I want to just lay out some of the UI here that we have. When you drill into an instance of a botnet, you'll be able to see the name of the botnet, the aggregation metrics along the top of the console here. And based on the rules that we have defined, our platform will intelligently calculate a risk score in terms of what those bots are going after and the types of behaviors that we see in terms of the HTTP traffic coming in. In this example, we have generated a risk score of 100. It's a threat type of a botnet. It's a low intensity Now, this is really interesting because we will look at traffic volumes as they come in over time, and intensity is meant to reflect what is the overall volume of traffic coming in. So it helps paint a story in the big picture view that these bots may be low and slow, continually pinging our website, looking to pull data and scrape data off the website. In addition, we kind of have the max level of the attack that we've seen over time, as that botnet activity can evolve pretty quickly. If you think about that first slide we showed, there's that increasing trend of automation and complexity in attacks, and we'll be able to detect that over time to show, right now they may just be scraping, but at one point they may have been doing something very malicious or nefarious. Additionally, we're able to break down all the different attack classes that we've observed in terms of quantifying those attack vectors that we see from the botnet activity. So as you can see here, the hover over will expose a number of different attack classes that we've observed over time. The reason why we do this is because we want to paint the big picture of what's actually happening with this specific botnet, such that we can go and make an informed tuning on the rules to help our security posture. Over here on the right, we'll show the total rule matches. For anyone not familiar with the ThreatX platform already, rule matches are basically a data point that we have in our system. Whenever a specific threat will come in and set off a rule, we will trigger that count in our system to help provide a quantifiable metric in terms of attacks and threats that are coming in that we can go and either block against or tune our security posturing. From there, we have what we call the botnet definition. And right now in this example, this is set up in a way where we're only looking for a specific user agent right now that uses a scrape by user agent. It's a Python library used to scrape websites. But we can see as we look down here in the member bots, one of the cool capabilities that we've exposed is the ability to see other different rules that may be triggered as well. And what this does is it allows us to see a bigger picture outside of just the specific rule being triggered here, and it allows us to see other rules that are being alerted to when this traffic comes in, such that we can go down and observe more kind of threat vectors that are coming in, ultimately to help us make that informed decision to say, you know what, if this other rule is being set off, maybe we should include this in the botnet definition to help detect more traffic that may be nefarious or malicious, and ultimately make a call to be able to block that traffic or not. Within this table down here, we're able to see all the individual threats that we've detected within the context of this botnet. And the table will show the threat name. This is a friendly name that our system automatically assigns as a pirate name. So it's kind of fun, but it also assigned the risk score, the overall intensity, the status, if someone's being watched or they've been blocked, like in this case right here, in addition to their geolocation along with IP address and country, the time when they were last seen, and then it also breaks down their different attack classes as well as match events. So it allows us, again, to tell that story over time of what is happening within the context of a botnet. And this table will show all the unique members of that bot. Now, in addition, we expose another tabbed view here called bot activity. And this tab is different inherently because member bots was a single list of unique attackers, whereas bot activity will be able to show the breakdown of the bot activity over time. So you may see the same attacker in this list. And why this is important is it helps us understand if there are specific attackers that keep coming back, and over time, what they're going after, targeting, trying to do. So another slice of the data view there that we expose here, ultimately to help paint that big picture view of what attackers are trying to do. I'll pause there. Are there any general questions around the bot console and the data that we expose within the bot details view?
This is great, Tyler. Being able to walk through all of the member bots and then being able to focus on, well, which of those bots are the ones that are most active, or which of those bots are the ones that are executing the most malicious or suspicious traffic. One question that just came in How can I associate multiple rules within a botnet? Can I see if a member bot is capturing both rules or just one?
Yeah, great question. So in this example that we have in our lab environment, we are just looking for bots that trigger this one single rule today. We can also see that a lot of these bots are triggering multiple rules. So for example, this other user agent that is a known botnet is also being caught under this specific threat. And to demonstrate how easy and quick we can update that botnet definition, it simply requires hitting this button to edit the botnet. And then we're able to come down here and select other rules that we want to apply to the botnet definition. So we have a number of rules that are available out of the box and can easily be assigned. And we would simply select, I'm just going to pick this one as an example, and save. And what this would do is then any new traffic that comes in through our sensor that matches this secondary rule would also be aggregated here within the context of a botnet. Ultimately, what this allows us to do is catch more traffic that may be correlated with our initial hypothesis of this web scraping user agent is detecting bots. What other things are correlated to this type of traffic trend that we may also want to detect and pull into this aggregated view?
Perfect. Thank you so much, Tyler.
Any other questions around the bot console?
Not in the moment in chat, but again, folks who are listening in the audience, please feel free to post your questions to chat, and we'll be taking those actively as well as towards the end of this event as well.
All right, fantastic. If there's no other immediate questions for bot console, I'm going to use the time to pivot over to the API catalog to give a preview of the latest version. So for current ThreatX customers, you're familiar with API Defender. The API catalog is the new version that we're really excited to roll out coming weeks to months. And this is what the API catalog looks like. It's a totally revamped user interface that intuitively breaks down a lot of the different metrics that ThreatX tracks across our customer base. So, for example, you can log in as a security analyst and understand the number of sites that are protected, the total number of endpoints that we're seeing, and the total number of rule matches over the time base. From there, what we'll do is break down all of the top attack classifications. In this example, we see SQL injection, we see programmatic access to our sites, we see other scanning activity or high error rates. All that may indicate we may be under some sort of attack or there may be nefarious activity going on. In addition, our profiler will break down the different types of APIs that are being protected behind our sensors, for example, to show, hey, we've got one GraphQL API, we've got a RESTful JSON API, we've got a URL encoded API, to really help paint the big picture of all the different APIs that we're protecting. From there, what we'll do is break down the different sites that are set up behind the ThreatX sensors today. In this case, we've got 3 simple examples in our lab environment, and you can see each one has a unique profile. This one being a JSON, this one's URL encoded, this one's GraphQL. And then over on the right-hand side, we'll break down some of the attack metrics that are associated here, including the number of endpoints that we're detecting and protecting, the number of threats that are going after each specific site, in addition to the rule matches and overall response code trends that we see. So if we're to drill into a specific site, this takes us down a level deeper into the context of the specific site here. So in this example, we're protecting an API that we have stood up, and we can see, again, in that familiar pattern, the overall aggregation metrics of what we've observed in the specific time range. So within the last month, we've observed 13,000 unique threats, 42,000 rule matches. We've blocked just short of 6,000 requests, and we've observed about 720,000 requests. From there, we break down, again, all those attack classifications that we've seen across this specific API and illustrate a graph over time showing not only the rule matches, but the blocked requests. This helps tell the big picture story to understand when there are surges or spikes in blocks in traffic that may be coming in to trigger not only rule matches, but represent ultimately nefarious behavior. Now, if I scroll down further down the page, we expose that similar table data, but instead of sites this time, we're looking at the specific endpoints. So up above, we've seen all the aggregation metrics at the high level, but as a security analyst, if I need to go down deeper to the next level to understand what's happening across specific endpoints, this is the view that will help us go there. Now within the table, we can see the very similar data that we showed on the prior page, showing the profile of these particular API endpoints, the types of exploitations that may be coming in terms of attack class, the number of specific threats that are going after the endpoints, rule matches, blocked requests, and total requests. So for example, I can sort really quickly and easily and see that there are a ton of threats going after the authentication endpoint versus the get transfers endpoint. In this example, it helps a security analyst really prioritize and understand which are the most targeted endpoints that may need due diligence or further investigation. So in this example, we'll take a look at this endpoint and drill down a level deeper. And we go down to the specific endpoint level details. Now, what this allows us to do in this new view is easily pivot between all of the different endpoints that we're protecting within this API in this new card-based view on the left that allows me to easily pivot and slice and dice data views to understand metrics across different endpoints. Now, if we go back to this authenticate endpoint, you're going to see that familiar aggregation view where we roll up the data to make it quick and easy to understand what's happening. But in addition, we will break down the specific threats that we see going after this specific endpoint. So in this case, we can see all of these unique threats that we have detected going after the authentication endpoint that would allow us to do deeper due diligence on either specific threat or, for example, another rule that's being detected in high volumes. So ultimately, it provides that big picture view to see what's happening across all of your sites that are being protected by ThreatX, drill down within the context of a site to see that story and those traffic trends, and then go down to the deepest level at the specific endpoint to see the different types of traffic trends, response code breakdowns, and specific threats that may be going after our public interface. So this is a high-level overview of the API catalog. We talked about a lot of the benefits. We've showed off a lot of the features. I do want to leave time for a quick Q&A if there are any questions around this. So Sydney, are there any questions that have come in through the chat so far?
Yeah, one quick question specific to API catalog. Folks are wondering, how could they go and manually block a threat actor if ThreatX isn't already blocking it? And can you speak a little bit more to how ThreatX is automatically blocking attackers as well? Is this required to come in and manually respond in the API catalog?
Great question. Well, one of the things that makes ThreatX so unique is that most WAFs today use a very binary approach. And when I say binary approach, that's either block or no block. Now, that approach can be very cumbersome and burden a security team to have to continually be tuning rules, to be continually refining the criteria of what you're looking for. And ThreatX is different because we use a risk-based approach that is centered on the attacker activity to understand over time the types of behaviors, the types of targets they're going after, and to ultimately make an informed decision in a programmatic way through our analytics and risk engine to make that decision on an automatic basis. Now, when that happens, it can either be an ephemeral block, meaning we'll block for a short specific period, or it can be a permanent block. If we have a high risk score, we can put that IP and permanently blacklist it. Now, to the question, do we have the capability to manually block a threat? Absolutely, we do. Let's go back into that authenticate endpoint and view our specific list of threats. We'll take in abrasive Legrand, for example, and drill down into the threat details, which shows all the activity over time of what they may be going after, and allows us to look at the current status of watched. Now, we can manually override this and say we want to blacklist this entity so they will no longer be permitted to call that site. There are a number of other options in there you can take as well to take that appropriate security stance. But that's really one of the nice things, that our platform allows manual intervention. There's things that we know we want to block. Otherwise, we will do it on an automated basis based on the attacker's behavior, activity, and other observations that we make over time to do that for you. So really the key there is that security teams don't need to be eyes on glass, constantly tuning and refining. The platform makes an informed and intelligent decision on the block, no block.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Tyler. Just wrapping things up, I know we are just about at that time. Just wanted to thank everybody for coming and joining us. We are going to do a short Q&A, but again, we just want to reiterate how important it is to get real-time visibility into not only API usage, but then also the suspected API abuse that's happening on your attack surface, and even the traffic that's being generated from these automated threats that Tyler talked about earlier on. Being able to easily triage and tune your detection criteria is all a part of ThreatX's story and how we're enabling security teams to more effectively protect their APIs and applications against sophisticated attacks. Again, the audience has been great so far on posting questions. Thank you so much for addressing those. If there's other questions that folks have in the audience, please feel free to shoot them out now. But the first one that we can hit on is, we have a question here from Adita. How can ThreatX secure and troubleshoot my system in the case of malware attacks? Tyler, would you like to take this one?
Sure. So great question, Adita. In the case of ransomware attacks, typically what we see is that attackers will find a vulnerability to be able to either bypass authentication or find something, maybe broken object level access, to be able to do that ransomware injection to either get into infrastructure or other vulnerable areas of an application that allow that ransomware to take effect. Now, really being at the front line of defenses across a lot of our customers, we have a lot of rules and criteria that we look for to detect those types of injections. And even before that injection happens, when attackers may be looking for vulnerable areas, that will set off rule alerts in our system to be able to preemptively warn around someone that may be in the process of orchestrating that ransomware attack. So before it even happens, we have rules and criteria in place to detect that, in addition to when it actually happens, when ransomware may be trying to be injected into an API, for example. We have rules to automatically block that as well. So a very proactive approach that's hacker focused, where we're looking at the threats, their behavior over time, to make an informed decision of a block or no block when they may take malicious action.
Perfect. And Tyler, one more question that we have in the chat is, what's the next step? What's the next focus area that the product team at ThreatX is going to be focusing on for these dashboards? Can you speak a little bit about where else we're going to be investing in pretty soon?
Yeah, great question. So throughout the second half of the year, we'll continue to build out new and exciting capabilities within the dashboards that we showed today. For API catalog specifically, we're looking at extending capabilities to introduce more functionality around schema management, to detect drift in terms of what is defined in a schema versus what may be coming in. Ultimately, to be able to alert on discrepancies and endpoints, parameters, other methods in your API, ultimately to detect that anomalous behavior and be able to identify where there may be risk vulnerabilities. PII detection is another one, to be able to alert on sensitive endpoints where, for example, if you're taking in customer credit card data, or you're dealing with social security numbers or other sensitive PII, those types of endpoints may be really more vulnerable than others. As such, we need to be able to understand when an attack happens there. That should be really the top priority to defend and protect. As it pertains to bot management, we have some exciting capabilities coming up later this year that will continue to expand upon bot management and introduce some more ways to detect intelligently when a bot is coming in by looking at a multitude of the rules that are being detected, more graphical interfaces, as well as more metrics around the aggregation data of botnets. So a lot of exciting stuff in store for the second half of the year. You're going to want to be sure you keep up and stay in tune with what we have because a lot of great stuff is coming out the second half of the year.
Absolutely. And I'll answer one of our last questions in the chat from Christopher asking if the product demonstrations are a reoccurring stream. Yes, ThreatX is hosting product demonstrations monthly, so follow us on LinkedIn for more information. And if you liked what you saw today on the product demonstration, we are going to be sharing out recordings after the event. And if you would like to get your hands on trying API Catalog 2.0 or Botnet Console yourself, with our closing remarks, I have some QR codes shared to product tours that are available today. So with that, we just wanted to thank everybody for the time that they spent joining us today on the webcast. Tyler, thank you so much for being my partner in crime and walking through API Catalog and Botnet.
My pleasure.
Everybody.
My pleasure. I hope everyone learned a little bit today and enjoyed the demo. If you have any questions, we'd encourage you to reach out to the ThreatX team, and we're happy to engage and answer any questions you have.
Perfect. Lastly, and certainly not least, as a show of appreciation for our attendees, watch out for an email hitting your inbox, as we have a select few folks that are going to be winning ThreatX Black on Black hacker hoodies as a thank you from us. So we appreciate you tuning in. Feel free to tune in next time for our next product demonstration at ThreatX, and we hope to see you again soon.